Arcee is one of the greatest G1 characters that ever saw an iteration in the G1 toy line, but yet is surrounded in controversy that's far more than the fact that she's a girl toy in a boys line that never got made back in the day. Today we're going to talk about all the different versions of the toy Arcee that got released over the years, and yes, this is the one that holds her enemies close but our friends closer, Arcee.
Oh, you'd better stay close to me.
Although there never was a G1 toy released, there was a prototype, and this prototype looked, well, a bit off from the screen counterpart, but you know, that's kind of the usual for a G1 toy. The G1 toys very seldom match the on-screen version, and so with that, it would have been cool if this figure came out, but Hasbro probably was correct. The sales would have been ridiculously low on this figure back in the 80s. That doesn't change the fact that fans show mock-ups of what they thought it could have been, what we could have seen from an Arcee back in the G1 era, or, you know, as recently as Titans Returns, and, you know, it's exciting to see that people support this character, and from that, we get a whole lot of toys. One of the earlier iterations of Arcee was in the quote-unquote chug scale for the Classics, Universe, Generations, the Hinkai, whatever. That version was to scale with what was on the mainline Transformers that you'd buy in the store. Now, this was the better of the two versions that came out from third party back in the day. Many argue that the Impossible Toys Trans 01 Valkyrie was actually a better looking version, but the QC was extremely bad, with wheels falling off and breakage in just places that made no sense. Part of Impossible Toys' demise was the fact that they had low and poor QC on these figures, even though their designs were pretty cool. It looked pretty good, but nothing like what we're about to get. Now, we did get a Cybertron Heroes version of Arcee. Now, this was a semi-posable, about 2.5 to 3 inch Statue X kind of figure, and it didn't transform. It was made of kind of some PVC materials, and it did look good. And this is an Arcee figure. People were excited. Fans were excited to get Arcee in any way, shape, or form they could at the time. Even though it was only priced $3.99, it still didn't fit in with your G1 collection or even the classics that were to come, so it was sort of a one-off kind of a release. There was also a Beast Machines release of Arcee. I personally don't know a whole lot about this, but it's interesting, and you can tell all of the aesthetic cues they took to make it look like Arcee. Arcee was a character slated for the Titanium series, which was made of die-cast, but a bit smaller than even the mainline figures, and there's a reason they canceled this because, well, it kind of looks incomplete in the back. We'll see more figures like this in the future, but they canceled it, meaning that if somebody had this prototype, it would be very rare. There was also a Transformers animated version of Arcee that showed up as a Toys R Us exclusive. This figure was kind of cool and showed a lot of the G1 inspired design, but was quite a bit different. Arcee was also shown off as an X-Dimension Street Action Micron in, well, I guess the Armada series, as a scooter, and she looked pretty cool as a scooter, but, well, not as a bot. Hasbro decided to finally take this figure seriously in 2014 and make an actual figure for the mainline, and they did a great job. By the way, this Arcee is one of the better Arcees made to this date. Looks great in both modes. Yes, has a bunch of back kibble, but some of that back kibble was fixed by the KO. Weijiang's a KO company that knocks off figures and improves them, and this one oversized it, not quite to masterpiece size, but did take it a lot bigger than a deluxe figure, most likely a Voyager scale, then made part of the vehicle mode removable so that in the bot mode, Arcee looked a lot more like the cartoon. We moved on getting a Titan Returns version of Arcee, which was a headmaster, though the good point of this figure was it was a headmaster, but it was a remold or a reuse of the Blur figure, and so it really wasn't an Arcee, not as feminine as one would like, and extremely bulky using the Blur design. We did see a G.I. Joe version of Arcee in 3.75-inch G.I. Joe mode. It is an homage to the only human episode of Transformers where Transformers characters got turned into humans for the episode, and it's still really cool. By the way, this figure is pretty sought after. Arcee has shown up in several different movie formats. Not really sure why the motorcycle turns into a unicycle in this iteration. We also have another iteration of a motorcycle that looks like a motorcycle and looks like an Arcee, which kind of works for me. We also saw the recent appearance of Arcee in the Bumblebee movie, which by the way makes a lot of fans really excited that we're going to get an updated, upgraded, newer version, modernized version of this amazing character Arcee in the Bumblebee line. Maybe it's third party, maybe it's Hasbro, maybe it's Takara. Who knows? So nowadays there is a 3-inch to 4-inch line of figures in the Legends scale, and DX9 made their Leia, which is an Arcee and is a pretty cool looking version of Arcee, made to be really, really small. This is Arcee compared to the Deluxe, the Hasbro, and it looks good. I mean, I think the Hasbro still looks better, but when you shrink it down and it's a different transformation, I think DX9 did a pretty good job here. Iron Factory took a stylized take on this figure and did a great job also. Significantly smaller than the DX9 option for whatever reason, but it does look good when you compare it to all of the other Iron Factory options that are out there. You may build an Iron Factory shelf. Arcee fits the Sunbow scale. They call her the Pink Assassin. The first of the actual Masterpiece figures was Toy World with their Leia. Toy World Arcee. I think the figure looks good. I think the size and scale is good. It is an okay action figure. When I say action figure, not really meant to be a Transformer because the alt mode looks like this. Now they didn't finish the figure. They didn't even include an add-on, a clip-on rear piece. They just said, we're going to make it a $60 figure, and that's that. Instead of a $100 figure, and finishing the figure. So that kind of killed this figure. Now Fans Toys came out with their Rouge, and Fans Toys Rouge looked good, but fell short in a lot of ways. The transformation is terrible. And some people think that the actual aesthetic of the figure does not match the Toon counterpart, and it's close. Now the alt mode on the Fans Toys looks really good. In fact, it actually is really close to the MP. But then, of course, this Den Toys chest replacement for Fans Toys. The Den Toys chest replacement for Fans Toys, I think it came in a closed chest, an open chest, and A, C, and D. Looking into this next one here, we do have some MMC, and MMC did a great job. Now, their Azalea came in Masterpiece. It came in other forms, such as the Chug scale, and they did deliver back in the day. Not as well as I thought they should have, but in the end, it still was a good representation of Arcee during a time that nobody else put out Arcee. The Masterpiece version of the MMC looks good in both modes, so I think they did a great job overall. MMC is going to come out with a different color version. They're going to make theirs again, another production run. Wait, MMC is going to make more colors than just one? They do it all the time. Next up, we want to talk about the Firebird Nicey. This figure is a very feminesque figure. It looks very good. And the alt mode is a lot like what you'd expect to see from an Arcee alt mode. The bot itself is very stylized, but the bot mode looks good aside from the excessive kibble. Now this figure hasn't been released yet. So the Takara version of the Arcee is a good looking version in the alt mode. A lot of people do kind of question, what does this figure going to look like in the robot mode? The chest is too low, the backpack's too thick, the face. There's a lot of question about this, and in the end, we really don't know until there's better pictures released, but there's a lot of excitement about this figure and a lot of initial disappointment. Now, Hasbro's talked about an Earthrise version of an Arcee. We haven't seen this Earthrise version. It would be a really cool version of the Arcee if it comes out. Hopefully it's even better than what they did in Generations, but the reality of it is it may not be even as good as in Generations. Who knows? So many people think that there is going to be a lot of Arcees coming out in this Bumblebee movie version, which, by the way, is going to be pretty cool. But let me know what you think. What figures did I miss? What versions of Arcee did you look forward to not seeing here? Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe. Teddy Hanger out.